Summer is here, ladies and gentlemen, and the deals are aplenty. Hi, everyone. John Spano here for the Gear Radio Network to let you know that if you shop Amazon at all for anything, please consider using our link instead of using Amazon.com. Our link is shopgear.com. That's shopgere.com. Very simple, very small. But what it does is when you type that into your URL browser, it'll redirect you right to Amazon, right to your account, and you do all of the Amazon purchases that you normally would. But the difference between using my link versus using the regular Amazon link is you tell Amazon that we at Gear Network referred you, and they give us a small commission of your purchases, which goes a very, very long way to help sustain the free podcasting and help us continue to upgrade the studio as needed to continue to provide this content. So very, very easy for you to do. You use Amazon anyways. Shopgear.com. Use that redirect link just once. It'll stick to your cookies. It'll stick to your history, and you won't have to even bother using it again. Just type the letter S after you use it once. Shopgear.com will pop up. Boom. Hit enter. You're good to go. You're at Amazon. You're doing your Amazon shopping. You're getting your free 30-day trial of Prime, which gives you shipping in 2 days or less if you don't have Prime. If you do have Prime, you're still getting the benefits of it, my babies. And you're doing it, and you're helping out this small business by doing what you normally do anyways. Thank you very much, by the way, for all of the patronage that you have given us over the years using shopgear.com and for the continued use of that link from all of us here at the Gear Radio Network.
The following is a presentation of the Gear Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Perez. You're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast.
And with that, we welcome you, episode number 140 of the Better Live Than Dead podcast.
Episode 140.
As always, Better Live Than Dead, powered by, BetterLiveThanDead.com and the Gear Radio Network. I am Ryan Wolfe at Wolfe BLTD on Twitter. You can hear us at BetterLiveThanDead.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, among every other podcast place you can catch a podcast. I am joined here today in the flesh by not only Mr. Perez at MRLG Perez.
What's up?
But also Eric Emanon at
hello
at Eric Emanon on Twitter. How you guys doing today?
I am very warm. It is a very hot day outside.
It is nice.
Yeah, but we're sitting right now in air conditioning.
Oh, yeah,
It
it's
should be
63
okay.
down here.
Yeah,
64.
I'm fabulous, thank you, Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm doing swell, man. I'm hanging out here watching the Red Sox Yankees play to first one to score 1,000,000 wins.
That's what a million runs?
Yeah, it's 6-6 after 2 in London here, game 1 of 2. But yeah, I'm doing good. Nice to see you. Nice to see Eric, and nice to be back on the podcast.
It's good to be here. Oh, Eric, congratulations on the birth of your new child.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Since it happened.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's growing up way too quickly already. I can't believe it's almost 2 months now.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
That is insane.
Just to let you know, also, Eric is the newest co-host of Rochester's premier wrestling show, The Pain Clinic.
Yep.
Which can be heard every Saturday on Hot Talk 1280 WHTK and the iHeartRadio app.
Which I'm sad because I wasn't there this morning because I had heavy lifting to do for the wife who isn't medically cleared to do any heavy lifting. So
gotcha.
That's fair. Well, hey, look, we plugged the show, and then
yes,
I wasn't there. Who cares? That's not nice.
Every Saturday you can find me on the Pain Clinic with the Cash Man, Danger Boy, and many of the other guys who come through the studio, arena, whatever. But yeah, good times.
With that being said, we'll jump right into the 3 big things of the podcast. I can't even remember how my podcast is written, despite the fact it's in front of my face. Okay. So, guys, we're going to talk about, first off, WWE making monumental changes, one may say, to not only the flagship shows, but their network as well. So if you missed it this week, or if you missed it the past few weeks, AEW has been absolutely crushing the positive media train.
Yes, they have.
Which WWE countered this week with 2 big moves. First off, on Wednesday, they announced that they would be airing Evolve's July 13th show on the network live, marking the first time a non-WWE special will air on the network. This was seen by many as a direct shot at AEW, which Kenny Omega tweeted out and deleted subsequently. He says, quote, "If lining your pockets with blood money is okay, then what's wrong with trying to undermine a charity show for victims of gun violence? I hear that healthy competition is supposed to be a good thing, and yet I can't help but feel like I'm going to be sick."
Yeah, and the thing with the whole charity event is that, I feel bad for Evolve because Evolve is a good independent company, and they don't have the same money backing that AEW has. Not everybody can have a NFL team's owner's son be there to help, and it sucks because AEW has a lot of really good going for it. But at the same point in time, the fact that all these guys with Evolve are going to be able to be seen on a worldwide spot is pretty cool. And I mean, AEW can arguably say that they are the first major company to really air independent guys in the way that they have. But, Evolve getting this opportunity is huge for them. So, I mean, I see both sides of the spectrum. Airing an Evolve show where people have to pay for attendance, going against a charity show, it is a tough kind of double-edged sword. It's like you want to be mad about it, but at the same point in time, you have to be happy for the guys who are getting the opportunity.
Yeah.
As much as WWE says they're not in competition with AEW, they've been doing a lot of stuff the past couple weeks, past couple months that just so happens to be lining up with everything that AEW does.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Listen, the WWE has been in trouble for a while.
Which we'll highlight here in a minute. There's more to this.
So they have to do something to win fans back. Let's be honest, storylines have gotten stagnant. There are some storylines I really enjoy. There's some performers that I really like. I don't care what you say about Becky Lynch. I really like Becky Lynch.
She's good. She's very good.
I love Becky Lynch. She's awesome. I don't, there's people I think that they're doing wrong by, like Asuka. Asuka's incredible. Oh, yeah, absolutely, There's
a lot of talent, like even perfect example, talk AEW, WWE.
Right.
Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley.
Exactly.
They did him very wrong.
Exactly.
And then, as most of you probably heard on Talk is Jericho, they did him very dirty.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and the thing is that, again, at the end of the day, the reason why AEW will be successful, and has been successful so far, is they focus on wrestling.
Right.
And good wrestling. Will they tell stories? Absolutely.
Right.
But they tell stories with wrestling. They don't tell stories with stories.
Exactly.
And I know that WWE kind of got away. I mean, back when I was younger, everything was recycled from, Stone Cold Steve Austin's beer truck was mocked by Kurt Angle as a milk truck.
Which was actually kind of funny.
Exactly.
But that was hilarious.
They had gotten to the point where they ran out of original ideas, so they would recycle stuff. Where now it's like they're bringing in guys from Hollywood who are wrestling fans, or they may not even be wrestling fans, they're just good writers.
Right.
And then they're making it seem like legitimate, like it's a TV show or a movie. We're like, okay, great. I think that it's cool that Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are doing stuff together because they're together outside of wrestling. But we don't need that.
I don't like that.
We don't need that. They're two great performers on their own. Plus, you don't as much as they like to use the male talent to elevate the female talent. Becky Lynch and a lot of those female wrestlers do not need elevation because they do it themselves.
Well, I think the problem with Becky Lynch right now is that she has kind of hit a plateau of sorts with her career where it's at, because the movement of the man at WrestleMania was huge, but I really think the big issue was that Kofi Kingston definitely overshadowed that because it was just a monumental moment. It was amazing.
Well, yeah.
But the problem is that the man movement was pushed so hard by the WWE afterwards. I think she kind of got the Roman Reigns treatment where the fans were like, all right, you can push her, but stop taking away what's cool and trying to turn her into female Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Right, and that's the problem with the WWE. Some of the stuff that they do right now is they oversaturate you with certain things, and then they want you to accept the oversaturation. And I get it. We're the fans. We watch the show. They make the decisions.
You say we watch the show, though. There's not many people watching.
Well, right. Well, the whole thing was Sami Zayn coming out and basically being the WWE revolting against the fans trying to control the show. I thought it was clever. I thought it was humorous. But at the same token, you're not giving us anything that's been great in a while.
Yeah.
So
I think the other thing you got to remember too is that Raw and SmackDown right now are pulling ratings that were worse than WCW Monday Night Nitro.
Right.
And WCW in the end, we're still pulling better ratings than what the WWE is now. But I think the big problem is that there's no other real competitor out there aside from AEW.
No,
when their TV deal starts up, I think the big thing we're going to see here is we're going to see AEW. I don't think it's going to be quite Monday Night Wars, but I think that I think right now we are in the best way to put it's 1995 in professional wrestling.
Right.
Where wrestling is good, but it's not great.
Yeah.
And when we have the competition and we have people who know wrestling and like wrestling in charge of wrestling, like Paul Heyman
Right.
or Eric Bischoff.
Yeah.
When they're in charge of the wrestling, I think that's when we're going to get the best wrestling, the best stories, the best matches. And, right now, a lot of their happiness, especially with the talent, is that they're not happy with where they're at and they're seeking jobs elsewhere because they realize Cody Rhodes can make a ton of money not working for the WWE, less dates, and his body's in way better shape now than he was when he was on the road. So why not me?
And well, let's be honest. When the WWE pulls up these people from NXT, okay, a lot of these people are some of the best independent wrestlers out there.
Velveteen Dream.
Velveteen Dream is awesome. Ricochet,
they're doing great things with right now. They're giving him a great push.
They're giving him a push, but my concern is that they're going to do with Ricochet what they do with everyone else. They give him a push, and then the storylines get stale, and then they don't use him correctly, which they do on a regular basis.
I think that was a perfect example with Enzo and Cass. They had a great. You can argue Enzo all day you want about who he is personally. I'm talking in the wrestling aspect of it. Enzo and Cass were great in NXT.
They were.
When they brought him up to the WWE, they were great in the WWE. And then Vince McMahon has his just giant hard-on for big guys that he wanted to separate them. And he felt separating was going to be the best thing to do. And it completely killed both of their characters.
Both their characters, absolutely.
And it sucks because they had such potential together as a team. You don't often get natural fan.
Right. I agree.
Jason's joining the podcast.
Hi, Jason.
No,
don't watch the cars.
That's okay, man.
Yeah, I'm okay. Appreciate it.
Yeah, go wash mine in the garage.
Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you.
Cool, man.
See ya.
Thanks. See you later, alligator. Okay, cool.
He's washing it with the squirter.
Anyways, so
well, that's a good break because I do want to mention. You mentioned Bischoff, you mentioned Paul Heyman, which that brings us to some more news. But I want to point out first, shakeup being necessary. We talked about the ratings being bad. Right here it says, I have some notes here that's pointed out by local wrestling star and host of WrestleNomics Radio, Brandon Thurston. He talks about the WWE ratings, quote, per the numbers, Raw's viewership is down 19% compared to quarter 2 in 2018, considerably worse than quarter 1 when the show tumbled by 14%, and far, far grimmer than the general decline in TV ratings across the United States. To break down the figures, 18 to 49-year-old males declined by 19%, women of the same age by 24%, 12 to 34-year-old women by 30%, 12 to 34-year-old men by 27%, and over 50 by 13%. So not only is it people aren't watching, it's their core market, core age groups that are no longer paying attention, which that's hurting them more than anything, and they've got to find a way to shake it up, which they again, I mean, in this case, I know wrestling, the best way to do it is always go nostalgia. You want to get the ratings up, you bring Undertaker back, but they've announced, and they came right out, because normally they don't make these announcements, but clearly they want to get some eyes on their product. Former ECW creative genius promoter Paul Heyman and former WCW promoter, executive producer, president, etc., Eric Bischoff, they both become the executive producers of Raw and SmackDown, respectively. So I don't know necessarily if they'll be running it, but if nothing else, they will be the top guys that everything has to go through them, essentially, it seems like at this point.
We'll see how long that lasts. We know how much Vince likes having control of a lot of the storylines that happens.
I'm sure, I agree with that, but I'm also sure that he also loves money, and I have to presume that the money rolling in is not as much as it once was, because you saw, like, for instance, the last pay-per-view they had, well, whatever it was, in Seattle, they're doing, buy one, get one free ticket sales, buy two, get one free, because no one wanted to go, because, again, why do I want to watch Monday Night Raw? Like, why would I watch the Royal Rumble if I'm just going to see the same matches the next night? Or why am I going to watch the pay-per-view? I'm not going to tune into the pay-per-view if they're wrestling, hey, Seth Rollins is going to defend his title on Raw against Brock Lesnar. Okay, he's also going to do it Sunday against Brock Lesnar. And it's like, why do I have to watch this? I
think the big thing that you got to remember too is that there's just too much wrestling on TV. There's too much. They've oversaturated their market with their own market, and their own product is out there so much. You got to think it's 3 hours for Raw, and usually the first hour recently, up until the past couple weeks, has been not wrestling.
Right.
And so, who really wants to watch just people coming out and talking? We tune into wrestling because we want to see those car crashes. We want to see. We want to see violence. They're the modern day Roman gladiators. We want people to hit other people. And I think Seth Rollins coming out and laying out people with a steel folding chair to start off a show because he realizes he needs to get the inner beast out. That's a huge thing. I think that's great because it's something different that we haven't seen. But I think the problem is there's just too much wrestling on TV. Now back to your point about all the stars. Fox wants all the stars on SmackDown. They want all the stars. Yeah, so at this point, we're seeing the same people on Raw and SmackDown because of the fact that we've really got to push these stars to the moon. And you got to ask yourself at that point, how much is too much?
You know what's been annoying me lately is all these senseless tag teams that get thrown together.
Aleister Black and Ricochet.
No. I thought
that made no sense.
No, it didn't.
Great team,
but I thought they were good together. But I'm talking about like the people will come out, they'll yell at each other, and then someone will come and be like, "Okay, you two are going to fight. You two."
Teddy Long.
Teddy
Long rule.
Yeah, I mean, it's just out of nowhere.
I heard you guys fought in a parking lot.
Right.
You know what that means?
Tag
you guys
team.
are going 2-on-1 against the Undertaker player.
Exactly. So it's they've been doing that so much lately. And let's be honest, like I like Shane McMahon.
I'm over it.
They've been pushing him hard for some reason.
He's not the best in the world.
No, he's not the best in the world.
I have argued anytime Shane McMahon's name gets brought up, I will constantly say to everyone he's not the best in the world. Speaking of best in the world, did you guys see the tweet that went out there from the Raw commercial break? They were going around asking people in the crowd, questions about people, and one of the kids was asked who's the best in the world, and he goes, CM Punk? Oops. It looks like that one's not getting aired on the WWE YouTube channel, but it made its way out into Twitter, and it was hysterical. I watched it 100 times, and every time it popped, you hear people in the background yelling, Shane McMahon! And the kid just popped, CM Punk? That's he's hilarious. There. He's there. We love him. We miss him. And, he may never wrestle again, and that's
actually
fine.
Already did.
Yeah, man. Allegedly.
I saw the footage.
Allegedly.
It was a quick one-in, though. It wasn't actual wrestling.
Yeah, no.
He said he's done it before.
He was under a hood.
Yeah.
He's under a hood.
The one thing I want to mention, too, before we move on, is that Eric Bischoff said last summer WWE needed to turn Roman Reigns heel.
Yes.
And now with Roman Reigns being on the same show as Eric Bischoff, do you think this is a sign of things to come, or do you think Roman Reigns, like John Cena, like all the other stars, is a sacred cash cow and they cannot do that?
Well, I can tell you what he's not going to have Roman Reigns do. He's not going to have Roman Reigns under the phrase suffering succotash like Vince McMahon did.
Yes.
So
I think the only thing that would work right now for Roman Reigns being heel would be much like The Rock's run as Hollywood Rock. And I think that's really what they need at this point is they need somebody to kind of fill those shoes. And they're huge shoes full of tons of calories and workout supplements. But you know what? I think that if anybody could do it, it'd be somebody in the same Samoan bloodline as The Rock.
I don't watch as much as I used to, but is Roman Reigns... Are they afraid to turn him heel, or is it just because he's too Shield still? Because I feel like Seth Rollins was still Shield, but he moved on. Dean Ambrose moved on, but it always still feels like Roman Reigns is still stuck in the Shield.
Well, he wears the same outfit,
similar outfit,
pretty much. It's just he's one of those guys that has, like a particular move set. You know exactly what it's coming.
It's the 5 moves of doom. Exactly.
So they need to evolve him in a way that makes sense, and also
he just needs to beat the crap out of a kid.
I'm down with that.
Just do it.
I mean, just tie a kid to a chair with some toe chains.
Get a couple little people to walk around backstage, and he'll just kick them.
That
in the
hurts.
face.
You're bringing me to my 20th birthday, and I don't want to talk about it.
Maybe a stapler gun to the chest.
It's my 20th birthday. That was 100% my 20th birthday.
Wow, this is getting real. Hey, quick question too about wrestling before we move over to baseball. AEW, is it All Out is in Chicago?
All Out. It's All Out is sold out.
My thought process is this, and I wanted to get it on the air. I talked with my barber, Chris Pogue, cheap plug.
Dapper's not dead.
Cheap plug. Hit him
What's up, Chris?
On Facebook. But anyways, we talked about it, and we said if CM Punk does not come back at All Out, that's it. There is no better place for CM Punk to make an appearance, to come back, even if he doesn't wrestle, which my thought is, who I would presume Chris Jericho would win the first ever AEW championship, heavyweight championship.
Allegedly.
That would be my thought. And then like Dean Ambrose, CM Punk would come out and beat the ever-loving hell out of Chris Jericho and say, hey, don't you ever forget, I'm still the best in the world. and then be gone or something like that.
Well, we know those two have chemistry. We know that Chris Jericho accidentally broke the breakaway whiskey bottle before it hit CM Punk in the face on TV. So, that's something that we have to look forward to.
But if it doesn't happen, though, we're all on the same page that this is probably...
I don't think so. I think that if he didn't come back in Chicago and AEW throws an absurd amount of money, he could be back
you have
the first
to remember,
night
too.
of
You
TV.
have to.
I agree.
No, you have to remember, though. They've already got a bunch of eyes on them. What's an even better way to get more eyes on them? Have CM Punk attack Chris Jericho in Chicago the last show before they debut on network television. Don't do it the first show, because at that point it's like you're kind of.
I don't even know if you
you're
need
blowing
them
it.
to have them attack. You could tease the attack. Have them just show up.
That's possible too.
Everyone could be anticipating.
Well, the thing is there was a rumor out there, because what Chris had told me was, I can't remember who it was, and Chris, I'm sorry, I can't remember. You'll have to tell me off the air. There was one of CM Punk's friends who's the friend said, "I'm working on a new wrestling theme for an unnamed wrestler," and then like a day or two later, CM Punk posted, or there was a photo going around the internet of them together, like in the studio. So people were like, "You're making a wrestling theme. You can't say for who,
right.
but you were just hanging out with CM Punk. What gives?" So it's just there's smoke there, but there's always been smoke there.
Right.
So I guess we'll have to.
Well,
just
I mean,
watch
let's be
all out and
honest.
see what happens.
CM Punk's mixed martial art career didn't really work out.
It didn't, but you know what? He did it though.
He did do it.
That's one of those things where, you know what, you got to commend the guy. He got his ass beat. He took his medicine multiple times. He said, "I want to do this," and couldn't make it happen. But guess what?
Speaking of CM Punk,
you're not going to see my ass getting in an octagon to fight someone. That's for sure.
no, that's true.
No, I'm
Even
over
if they
that.
paid me $1
right.
million a fight or whatever, I would not do it.
Maybe $1 million.
One shot to the face.
No, it would be-
I just
it would be-
run across, gloves down, take the punch, stay down. I
right.
lose. I still get paid.
Right.
It would be multiple hammer fists.
It would
to
be
your face.
it would be like that scene from Sergeant Bilko where the boxers dance around for like 6 rounds,
You're
and then
right.
one connects with a right, and they both fall
Fall
down.
down, yeah.
No, that's not.
Speaking of CM Punk, I just want to say, hey, what's up to April Jeanette Mendez? How you doing?
Jesus,
It's always got to get weird. It's always got to make you.
I wish you weren't so fucking awkward, bud.
Exactly. Hey, moving over to baseball now, as we are looking at the Yankees have now gone up 8-6 on the Red
Boston
Sox.
Red Sox.
A Brett Gardner home run.
Oh, it hurts.
Knuckleball. It's okay. Red Sox are bad this year. We know that.
I'm looking forward to the end of July. I get to go see them at Fenway Park.
I want to talk about
It's gonna be fun.
the Red Sox taking the rivalry overseas. Now, I mention this because London Stadium, Olympic Stadium, where West Ham United plays, they are hosting Major League Baseball's two biggest teams for the first time ever. I believe today was the 2,200th game between the Red Sox and Yankees, and this is the first time it's being played on turf, first time it's being played out of New York or Boston. Now, Jason I always get his name wrong. It's Jason Mastro Donato. I'm sorry, I can't read this. My text is so small. Jason Mastro Donato. He writes, I believe, for a Boston. I want to say Boston Globe, but I could be wrong there. He writes for a Boston-based media outlet. He's from Rochester. We've trash-talked each other on Twitter about that because I believe, went to Spencerport, and I said, well, I went to Holly, and he said, we kicked your ass at soccer. Anyways, it's irrelevant. He said, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred said today, quote, "I'm interested in sustained play in Europe," end quote, but says it depends on how talks with the Players Association goes. Are you guys on board with Major League Baseball in Europe?
No.
Or how do you feel about it?
I'm not.
No.
And the only reason I say that I'm not, I understand that baseball is, it's one of the faster growing sports right now. Soccer's up there. Soccer's always going to be the top sport in the
Soccer's
world.
the largest sport in the world.
Yeah, 100%.
best-
Football, everyone wants football everywhere. And when I say football, I mean like physical American football, not football like the Mighty Hammers play. And so, I don't see it being something because you think Europe, like, what do you do if the World Series is happening? What do you do if a European team makes the playoffs?
Right.
You're looking at these games that are be playing in late October, sometimes into early November.
Right.
And not
The
only are you
turnaround
going
time
to,
is too quick.
you got somebody from Los Angeles flying across to Europe to go play games 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
It just doesn't seem logical.
No, it doesn't seem logical at all. I think what we're seeing right now with this game, 8-6, is a direct result of jet lag and not being prepared. And sure, they gave them 2 days, but it's not really enough time. I don't see it being something that's sustainable or feasible. I think it'll be a terrible idea.
Well, not to mention too. I mean, all sports are trying to nationalize or to not nationalize,
Globalize.
Thank you. Nationalize would be America, idiot. Globalize. They want to try to globalize. You've got NFL playing games in London. They had the NFL Europe, but that was a failed experiment. You could probably do something like Major League Baseball Europe, MLB Europe. But here's the thing: if it's like the Dominican Republic, you have the camps. The Major League camps in Dominican Republic. When the players get good, they get signed by MLB teams and come to America. That's how that works. That's how they do it. So my thought process would be, if they have a league in Europe and there are players who are really good in Europe, they would come to America to play in America.
So almost like a G League.
Yeah, exactly. They would have to try to do something like that. But then again, is there any interest? Can they sustain it? Because you wouldn't do it just because.
Say you got a 12-team European G League, right? And you did it all over Europe. Arguably the travel across Europe isn't too bad. So say you did a 12-team G League, right? 6 East, 6 West, or 4, 4, and 4 and 4. 12, 16 teams, and you did it that way. I think that would be a cool, sustainable organization. But the interest would have to be there. You're looking at 40-man rosters per each team. Then on top of that, where do you look into the Asias? Where do you look into Japan? Because
Japan's already that's a tapped market. I think the reason they're looking at Europe is because it's untapped and there's a lot of potential there. But then again, is the interest there? They love football. They want to put a football team there, but then it comes to the point where travel logistically is not feasible. I mean, the closest flight, I believe, out of Toronto is 7 hours door to door. So it's still not. It's not great.
So my other question too is this the MLB's response to that kid earlier this year declining to go to the MLB draft, instead opting to go play in Japan?
Nope. I think what's going to happen is you may see that happen more often because it's guaranteed money.
Exactly.
It's like kids in the NBA who are opting out of going to college and going and playing in Australia because they get to play against better talent, make money, and do it their way. That's what I think will end up happening ultimately. I think it's more of a I can't remember the thing I wanted to say. It's more of a it's not going to be the rule. It's more of a stick out than you may see it happen every once in a while if the kid is successful and it works out and he comes back and whatever, signs with the team, makes a bunch of cash.
Well, I appreciate his logic behind it too, because you go play in Japan, your playing time counts. By the time he gets done playing in Japan and he's able to come over and take a free agent contract from the Major League Baseball Association, he's going to be able to make tons of money. He's not going to be losing out on any minor league stuff. He's going to be playing better players in Japan. He's going to be exploring his talents. Ichiro went and played in Japan forever before he came over and was an old rookie.
Right. I think what's going to happen. I think what's going to end up happening is if it works out, I think Scott Boras is just going to try to find. They're trying to find a different way to break down the service time and all that stuff. And if that's
6 years is a lot.
If that's a way to get around it, then that might be something that you can look into. But I'm more interested with coming up in baseball with their next collective bargaining agreement, because these players, free agency is not the same it was. Like you said, the service time is too long. It's just something that's going to take time to hash out, but it's definitely set up old, and they need to fix it soon.
Not only is it set up old, though, but you look at these teams who take advantage of the players' time, and they'll bring people up for part of a year and then send them back.
Oh, absolutely.
And they abuse it, so that 6 years then turns into 7.5, almost 8 years. Right. By 8 years, you're looking at the end of some people's careers.
Right.
They get 2 or 3 years in the majors, and then they're done. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So, Lewis, I want to ask you now. Major League Baseball is rolling into July. It's June 29th.
Yes.
Already. Holy crap. July 4th is next week. Yes. Dang. MVP races are red hot, though. The National League, we've got Cody Bellinger holding off all challengers still. We talked about this a while ago.
We did.
He's got a 350 average, 27 homers, 64 RBIs. He's a 1.154 OPS and a Major League Baseball leading 6.7 wins above replacement. Lewis, do you think, barring a complete failure to operate from Cody Bellinger, do you think he's got the MVP race locked up?
Real quick, though, I want to just touch on what we were just talking.
Oh, sure. I didn't know that you were just kind of. I think
I was just listening to y'all. I just wanted to. I think if you want to gauge the interest in baseball across Europe or across the world, Bring back the World Baseball Classic.
Yes, please.
Play it
I
more,
loved it.
Play it more often.
Yeah, I mean, the World Baseball Classic was awesome. You got to see people you didn't normally see. It's another way you could get some of these minor leaguers to play and get exposure. So bring that back. And as far as the MVP goes, yeah, I mean,
The Dodgers are good. He's good.
He's good. The Dodgers are good. He's been on fire. I mean, another one, Mike Trout. Mike Trout's
Well, I was about to
playing
talk
awesome.
about the AL in a second.
So,
don't you
he
don't
might-
you read my notes?
Okay, my bad. No, yeah, I think Cody Bellinger will probably lock it up for that now.
Now we'll move over to the AL here. Death taxes and Mike Trout. Now I know that there are some players who have higher averages than Mike Trout, but I looked at Mike Trout because he's got a 298 average. It was below average batting, but 22 home runs, 57 RBIs, a 1.067 OPS, and a major league leading 4.8 offensive WAR. So Bellinger is a 6.7 overall.
Right.
Trout himself offensively 4.8.
That's wild.
So he's really good.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But I think every year but one so far in his major league career, he's finished at least 1, 2, or 3 in
Right.
the MVP.
Perennial
voting. So
MVP.
Yeah, I don't think
Absolutely.
I don't think he won't.
Best in the world.
Yeah, he won't be in the the argument this year. Excuse me. The one thing I want to mention too, because we're getting up to about 30 minutes here, so we want to tie things up with a bow real quick. I want to mention the gear guy, Jose Berrios, Minnesota Twins. We have an update for you. We mentioned it before, so we'll mention it again. He's now 8-4 with a 2.89 ERA, 102 strikeouts, and 112 innings pitched in 17 starts.
Good for him.
He has been 2-2 in his last 7 starts, struggling a little, but his ERA is 2.23. So
That's not bad.
just
I appreciate you guys
Bad luck.
at Gear Network having him as your guy. He is one of my pitchers in the show.
He's real good.
For the event that was going on right now for the All-Star break, and he won me a bunch of games,
Nice.
lights out pitching. So
yeah.
I appreciate the gear guy.
And speaking of the All-Star game, he may actually represent the American League at the All-Star game. We don't know yet. I mean, the Twins have a lot of good pitchers because the Twins themselves are very good, but maybe Jose will be at the All-Star game.
That's a possibility. It would be nice to see.
It would be nice to see. It's kind of the culmination of the gear guy.
My fellow Puerto Rican.
Yeah. Well, hey, with that being said, this has been a nice little podcast. Talking
It feels
about-
like Wayne's World down here, by the way.
it does.
Like
Talking
I
about
swear,
wrestling.
I walked
talk
down
about
the
baseball.
stairs.
Right. He had the drumstick in his hand. Like,
I see some drumsticks. I can't stop. I can't help it but to mess around with drumsticks whenever I see them. So
I like to play.
around the room, Lewis at MRLG Perez, Eric at Eric Emanon. Like I said, you can hear him on the Pain Clinic every Saturday on 1280.
Real quick though, can I just before we wrap it up, can I push my stuff real
I
quick?
was gonna get to. I'll get to.
Oh, you gonna get to it? All right, my bad.
And then I'm Ryan Wolfe at Wolfe BLTD. And Lewis, before we go,
Ladies
tell
and
everybody
gentlemen,
what you're doing.
pretty soon, the culmination of talking about it for years is about to take place with one of my podcasts. I want to be bringing out the Project Transformation podcast to talk about my weight loss.
Proud of you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Does look good.
So look for it, listen to it. It's coming. Metaphorically speaking, of course.
So hard.
So hard.
Well, thank you guys for having me. It was a
course.
blast.
Thanks for being on the podcast. We'll do this again sometime soon.
Party on, Lewis. Party on, Ryan.
Yes.
And as
Yeah.
always, we are Better Alive Than Dead.
You're not.
We'll catch you sometime very soon. Thanks for tuning in.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Do you like sports, interactive polls, friendly banter from two guys that probably shouldn't even be on the microphone doing this stuff anyways? Well, if you do, then you're in luck. Us two knuckleheads, Brandon and myself, comprise the Listen In Podcast. That's right, Listen In, the podcast. We're talking sports, we're talking news, we're talking topical things, we're talking all sorts of things, my babies, and you are all invited to listen in right here on the Gear Radio Network.